Hello everyone, this is Ben at Russound Tech Support, and our topic of conversation today is once again IR. We did a very basic video covering IR basics, so we're going to go a little bit deeper and go into a couple other topics related to IR control on MCA-Series. This one's going to be covering learning IR to the MCA, and this is going to be useful if you are looking to control a product through the MCA using IR, but perhaps the IR library on the MCA is outdated for the product in particular you are setting up. Maybe it's a very new TV or Blu-ray player of some kind, and our MCA just simply doesn't have the proper IR command already pre-stored in it. So let's go ahead and take a look here. If you watched our earlier video, we have set up an MCA-66 with a Blu-ray player, and the device code is already set up so we can control the product through it. But let's assume that our Blu-ray player is not an option for our IR library as stored in the MCA. We're going to go ahead and just change the device type to miscellaneous audio here, and this will reset all IR commands and codes. And by default, Apple is selected with some random device code here. This is most certainly not going to be working with our Panasonic Blu-ray player, but that's the whole point. We don't want to have the right code set here just so we can show you how to learn IR. So in order to do that, on the source page, we're going to click the option to learn IR. We now have a whole section dedicated to individual commands that you can then use to teach the MCA how to operate that. Everything under the sun is right here. We're going to do just a basic command to start. We are going to do, I actually like using the open eject, open and close tray for this, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to learn the open close command. In the case of my Blu-ray player, that is just strictly going to be an open command, but this is also compatible with close as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to select open, and we are going to click learn.
Open.
We now have a nice gentleman telling us it's open, and what we need to do next is we need to actually go over physically to the MCA. So we're going to take a pause in the video here to do that, and a quick break so we can change perspective for you. Alright, so here we are in front of our MCA. We need to actually take our IR remote, point at the learning input on the MCA, and actually press the button of choice that we want to correspond with the open command. In order to do that, we're going to remove the protective cover off the front of the MCA here. Just pops right off. And now we have access to the IR programming section. We've got an IR confirmation LED. This will blink every time we actually send an IR command through the system. We also have the IR in. This is directly where we'll point our remote to learn the command. So now we're going to take our IR remote. I'm going to point it right at the IR input here, and I'm going to hit the open button. That was pretty close to the actual Blu-ray player, so it actually did open it for me. That wasn't intended, but that's okay. So now we're going to go back into WebConfig. Alright, and we're back in WebConfig now. One thing I'd like to mention that didn't get captured in that last clip was that the IR LED is actually lit solid red and blinking very rapidly when we're ready to learn. I walked over to the MC a little too late and that timed out, so that's why we didn't see it on camera. But you will see a confirmation LED brightly lit there. And then of course you point your remote, press the button of choice. In this case we hit the open button on the remote, and we now have that command learned. So let's scroll down here. Alright, so there's our open, still checked off. We actually can now relearn it if we want. We can even rename the command if we choose to. We don't really need to do any of that. We can clear it, and we can test it. So right from here, I can click test. And although you won't be able to see it on the video itself because the MCA is in the other room and I'm actually not filming it in this segment of the video, if I press this, I heard the disk tray open up in the other room, and I can test it again. and I just heard it close. So this allows me to get confirmation that I've tested it, and indeed I did learn the proper command in there. So that's simply how you learn IR commands. And someone's Skyping me in the background there. We can do this for other commands as well. So we're going to do one more together. Let's go ahead and do let's do power on. We're going to check this off. We're going to click learn.
On.
I'm going to pause the video and go over and do that. Alright, this time I moved a little bit quicker. We can see that IR LED blinking. Press the power button close. IR LED goes out. We can now go back to WebConfig. And now back in WebConfig, scrolling down, we've got on checked off. It's learned in there, and once again we can test it. I won't actually hear anything because the on and off command won't actually make a noise like a CD tray actually ejecting. But this would now allow us to just double check and test that. So that's simply how you learn IR in a nutshell. Super easy to do. You can learn any and all commands you want, or as few as you need just to get the basic stuff set up. Thanks for joining, guys. Take care.